of a hierarchy. So please jump in if you have anything. We do have a chat session on Zoom, so you can chat, and at the appropriate time, I'll bring those topics up. So if you have something to add, or if you have questions, you didn't understand something, you didn't hear something, please, as interactive as you can make this, it'll make it more pleasant for everyone. And so tonight we have the head of Embrace Sacramento with his brother Rashid, kind of a long time kind of stalwart of the community for the Muslim community here in Sacramento. So there's not an event or a masjid or an ICNA meeting or anything that you don't see Brother Rashid either attending or leading. So it's certainly an honor and a pleasure to have us here with us tonight to talk about the Hajj, because this is certainly the season. So I look forward, and hopefully you look forward to learning a lot from him. Does anyone want to volunteer to open us up with a dua before Brother Rashid starts to teach with us? Should I pick on someone, or is someone gonna raise their hand?
If you want to start with one, inshallah.
I'm the worst at giving a dua. Brother Shane, I don't want to put you on the spot. You're the new guy. Do you feel comfortable giving just some sort of supplication to open us up?
Sure, inshallah. Ya Allah, help us make this an occasion of guidance so we can increase our knowledge and grow closer to you, and increase us in steadfastness and in taqwa. May Allah grant us success in the akhirah and in the dunya. Allahumma ameen.
Ameen.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. So I want to welcome everyone to our July installation of our Hanukkah series, which is going to be about Hajj, inshallah ta'ala. And so for the last 2 weeks, we had a sort of a virtual tour of Hajj, where we talked about the rights and responsibilities of Hajj, sort of the emotional and spiritual benefits of those. And we had some pretty nice snapshots of Hajj as well. And so tonight we're going to talk about sort of one of the undercurrents of Hajj, which is sacrifice, and what it is all about. And then next week we'll go and we'll cover a little bit more of this during the announcements, but we're going to talk about some of the sort of the diversity that also falls into play with Hajj. So I did receive a couple of questions in WhatsApp group. So I kind of wanted to sort of touch on those just a little bit. So basically, we're going to talk about sort of like the history of Hajj and things of that nature. And Brother Payam, I think I might need your help to admit people.
I don't know how to do that on my end.
Okay.
Let me see if I can figure it out.
I think you can make him a co-host, Brother Rashid, and then he'll be able to admit people.
Okay. Or make him a host, or
host
okay.
or co-host, yeah.
Okay. Let's see. More.
If you make him a host, you'll lose your hosting ability. Okay. So co-host is good.
Okay, perfect. Okay, Pam, so you're officially co-host now. So if people
I got it.
Pop in, you'll be able to just click the admit button, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Inshallah. Okay, so a little bit about the history of Hajj, and so that we know a little bit more about it and about Eid al-Adha. So back in the day, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had asked Ibrahim and his son to go to Mecca to actually start to build the Kaaba. So they started to work on that, the building of the house that we all, inshallah, will be called to at some particular point for Hajj or Umrah. And while they were there, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had asked Ibrahim to do the ultimate, which was to do sacrifice, which was to sacrifice his son. And being a father of 3 children, and I'm sure some of us here are also parents, can find that how challenging that would actually be if we were told that by a law, by God, to go ahead and sacrifice your child. And Ibrahim, he didn't hesitate, and his child Ishmael did not hesitate. So he was going to go ahead and do that sacrifice. And because he was so obedient to God without question, that's how we ended up coming up with the Eid al-Adha. And in Islam, there's actually two Eids. There's Eid al-Fitr and Eid al-Adha. And actually, surprisingly, Eid al-Adha is the larger of the two Eids, and that's because we're celebrating the sacrifice that Ibrahim was going to make. And Eid al-Adha is actually right after Ramadan, and so that is a celebration of the holy month, at the ending of the holy month, and us fasting. And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala even gave us an ayat in Surah al-Safat, which is Surah number 37, ayat number 102, where he said, "Oh my son, I see in vision that I offer thee in sacrifice. Now see what is thy view." And his son responded with, "Oh my father, do as thou art commanded. Thou will find me, if Allah so wills, one practicing patience and constancy." So without hesitation, Ibrahim was going to sacrifice his son, and his son Ishmael actually went along with that. And again, that's one of the major reasons why we celebrate Eid al-Adha. And once again, it is the bigger of the two holidays. And so now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here, because during Hajj, there's a couple of things that we can actually do during this particular Hajj season. So let me try to share my screen here. Let's see. Oh, come on. Of course, everything works fine when you're testing it, but then when it's not time to actually do it, things just sort of happen. So hold on bear with me 1 second here. This is not letting me share my screen. I had a PowerPoint presentation that I wanted to open up for you guys. Okay. During the Hajj season, which is the Dhul Hijjah, which actually starts this Sunday, if Allah also wills, and Allahu Alam on when the moon is actually going to be sighted. But during this blessed time, during these particular 9 days, some of the things that we can participate in is some of the 9 special days. So on the 8th, 9th, and 10th of Dhul Hijjah, that's actually the physical days of the Hajj. Is when people are going to go out and actually perform the rites. During that time, it's really good to fast during that time, and also to participate in the Qiyam, or the night prayer. So to do extra prayers at night. And to actually do extra prayers at the masjid or at home are some things that are highly advantageous to do. We want to give out extra sadaqah, which is something the Prophet ﷺ used to do during these blessed times. And again, we want to do as much as we can to spend extra time in the masjid or praying at home, and also participating in dhikr, dua, and also itikaf. Itikaf is actually where you physically stay in the masjid. So that's something also too that's meritorious to do during this time. And we also refer to this as the season of sacrifice. And again, that's because Ibrahim was going to sacrifice his son Ishmael. And right when he had said, okay, this is definitely something that I'm going to do. And as the knife was coming down, and Ibrahim raised his hand and started to bring his hand down towards his son, and that's when the angels stepped in and stopped him from cutting his child, and he actually replaced him with a ram, which is an animal. That's one reason why during the Hajj season, a lot of people like to do sacrifice. They like to sacrifice a goat, or sacrifice a lamb, or sacrifice a ram, or some other animal. And then once they sacrifice that animal, they actually feed the poor. It's incumbent upon us to actually feed the poor. And in many countries, this is the only time of the year where they actually will get meat during that time. During that time of the year. So it's called the season of sacrifice. And when I started to think about this talk and about sacrifice and things that we should do, one thing that came to mind was there was a hadith that the Prophet ﷺ had conveyed to some of his companions when they were sitting around talking. And that was to take advantage of 5 before 5. Again, it's the hadith of take advantage of 5 before 5. And so the hadith reads, the Prophet ﷺ said, you should take care of your youth before old age. And number 2, you take care of your health before your sickness. And number 3, you take care of your wealth before your poverty. And number 4, take care of your free time before you actually have no more free time. And the last one was that you take care of your life before your death. And so to repeat those quickly again, you want to take care of your youth before old age, take care of your health before sickness, take care of your wealth before poverty, take care of your free time before you have no more free time, and also take care of your life before your death. And so to pursue these 5 points, because if we stick to the letter of these, we're definitely going to be doing some forms of sacrifice. And this is something that the Prophet ﷺ had even recommended and suggested that we do. So as far as your youth before old age, the Prophet ﷺ said, there are 7 whom Allah will shade in his shade on the day when there is no shade. Again, the Prophet ﷺ said that there are 7 whom Allah will shade in his shade on the day when there is no shade. One is a just ruler, a youth who grew up in the worship of Allah, the mighty and the majestic, a man whose heart is attached to the masjid, 2 men who love each other for the sake of Allah, meeting for that and parting upon that, and also a man who is called by women of beauty, of a beautiful position, for illegal intercourse, but he says, I fear Allah. So those are the people that are the 7 people that Allah said is he's going to provide a shade when there is no shade. Now, one of the people in that was the youth who worships Allah. And so when we dig deeper into that, we can really think about us being youth, and we can also think about the youth that we are responsible for. And in Islam, that actually is funny, they consider the youth all the way up until the age of 40. So a lot of us we're still young in the eyes of Allah and the eyes of this deen. So for those people who will worship Allah while in their youth, they're going to be guaranteed a shade when there is no shade. So if we project that onto our children, when our children are really young, and even when they're teenage years, this speaks to the power and it speaks to the might of why, or one of the many reasons why we should teach our children about this deen. And because inshallah, they start to take the prayer and they start to establish that in their lives, and they start to take the deen and establish that in their lives. And they will be among those people who are young and who worship the law. And inshallah, we as parents will get blessings from that particular activity. And then if they grow up and they stick to the deen, that even means even more about who they are and what they are and where they may end up. In addition to the fact that they may very well teach their own young people and young kids to hold on to this particular deen. So And one thing is that we should work, and the Prophet ﷺ reminds us that that actually people are not really held to the prayer until they actually reach puberty. So we should do what we can to try to teach our youth. And then once they reach puberty, there's no compulsion in religion, so we can't force people to pray. However, if we can highly encourage them and support them in prayer or covering with the hijab or dressing modestly, those are some things that we should actually do. So as the brother Payam mentioned, this is an interactive session. So but after each one of the five, I want to try to ask a question and sort of get some interjection from the people that are out there. So if we think about that, you guarantee your youth before your old age. Can anybody give any suggestions or ideas about how you might be able to do that, or how you've done that in your life? Anyone?
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's a good question, because there's that old adage that says youth is wasted on the young, which I think is really true. We don't always know what we should be taking advantage of because we're too young to appreciate it most of the time. You know, because you're growing up in your parents' house and you say, oh, I just can't wait till I have a job, and I just can't wait till I'm out on my own. And then you get a job and you're out on your own and you're like, man, I wish I should still be living with my parents. Life was so easy. But I think maybe, I see a lot of videos and, friends of my daughters who are, late teens, early 20s, and I glimpses of their lives on social media, and they really are having a great time. They're traveling, they're doing stuff at 20 that I would never have done. They're traveling, and they make friends, as they travel and stay in youth hostels. And I look at that and I say, wow, I think this day and age more than ever, people have a real opportunity to, as young people, explore the world and feel more confident in doing so. So I think that there's something to be said for young people kind of traveling and seeing the world, because as they age, perhaps it increases their perspective about how other people live and maybe ways they can be of service in the future, type of thing. That's just one thought I had.
Alhamdulillah. No, that's actually pretty good. And I think in today's world of social media, right, where people are on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, and all the other things, we're always sort of seeing the youth and their better sides of their life, right, or a piece of their life that they want us to see, which may or may not have anything to do with Deen, but at the end of the day, it's about serving Allah, which is what we're here for. That we should want our youth to do. But it's easier said than done sometimes. But yes, I completely agree. Completely agree with that. It's a good point. Does anybody else have any suggestions or ideas about how we can help to service our youth and maybe look at the Deen a little bit differently? Anybody? Okay. All right. So the point number 2 was to take care of your health before your sickness. So it's to take care of your health before your sickness. So the Prophet ﷺ said there are 2 blessings which many people do not appreciate, and it's their health and leisure. They don't take care of their health and take care of their leisure. And this is definitely another form of sacrifice, right? If we take time to realize that there's so many blessings from the good health that we have, and if we acknowledge that and we're thankful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the good health that we have, and if we're willing to sacrifice some of our time or maybe even servicing some people that are not as healthy, then that's just another form of sacrifice that we can definitely partake, hopefully ignite during these blessed times, the time of sacrifice, at the time of Hajj. And one thing we can even take a step towards that is Salat al-Duha. which is in the morning, usually around 10 o'clock or so. But that is a salat, that's just 2 rakats, and that essentially when we do that, that's our way of thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for the health that we have, because we should be thankful for every joint that we have in our body and good health that we have, the fact that we can hear, that we can see, that we can smell, that we can walk, that our hearts work, and all of these things. And so Salatul Duha is something that we can do every morning, and it only takes a couple of minutes. And that's just a sort of our indirect way of thanking Allah for that. And I guess I'll throw a little bit of full disclosure, and some know my story, I guess, if you will. But I have a neuromuscular disease or condition, and I remember back when I just became Muslim, sort of really taking for granted the fact that you can walk into the masjid and take your shoes off and stand up and go in sujood and bounce right back up again and all of those things. But when you find that you have a condition where you're no longer able to do that, you sort of look back and reflect on those days. It's like, subhanAllah, I was ungrateful and unthankful for those days and those times. So we have to do what we can to try to show our gratitude and our thankfulness to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for having our health. And if we see other people that are elderly that are not as healthy, we want to perform some sacrifice and try to help them out as much as we can, because we do know that that is a form of sadaqah, and that is a way to help humanity, if you will, and that is a form of charity. So I'll pause on that one there. Does any comments or whatnot on health and what you feel you had in the past that you may not have now, because we're all getting older, right? Things are changing. So is there any comments or anything that people want to speak about on in terms of health and how they might be able to show some form of sacrifice in that particular space?
Assalamu alaikum, this is Payam. I just wanted to, on the kind of on the similar vein you were talking about, there's an ayah in the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that we don't have the ability, I'm summarizing obviously, we don't have the ability to count the blessings that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us. And I was sitting in a khutbah one time, it was a couple of years ago, and the Imam was talking about one of the close friends of his. He's asking us to make dua for them. They had some problem with their hemoglobin, something in the cells of their body. And the Imam asked us, has it ever occurred to you to be thankful for your hemoglobin, or for your spleen, or for your nice toenails? And it just got these two, that ayah and this concept of being thankful for those things that, we're healthy and we have them, our taste buds are functioning properly and our ears are not falling off. All these things we just take for granted. It just never occurred to me to just even be thankful for those things. They just kind of work without me thinking about it. And so that, your health before, and to be grateful for it. I think it's one of those things that's very easy to not be grateful for it, or even to consider it for that matter.
Good point. Good point. And now there's a book called Purification of the Heart by Sheikh Hamza. And he talks about a lot of ills and diseases of the heart, but he starts in the preface of that book just talking about the heart, and how much we take that for granted, that it pumps the blood, and it doesn't pump too much, it doesn't pump too little. There's certain cases where it might, but there's medications and whatnot that people can take. But generally speaking, it doesn't pump too much, it doesn't pump too little, and that's how all other organs are fed, is just through the heart. And when we think about that, just being thankful to Allah for to give us those things, and the eye drops, and water, moisture in our eyes, so that we can actually blink, and things of that nature. So showing gratitude for those things is very, very, very important. So is anything else anyone would like to add as far as the health?
It's Elizabeth. I just had one more thing. I think a lot of I used to work for many years with people with developmental disabilities. And I always just think, like, subhanAllah, like, I'm just so grateful I was born chromosomally complete. I mean, we don't see it every day. You don't think about it, but maybe I think about it more just because I worked in that arena for so long. But I mean, one missing chromosome could mean a completely different life for you and your family. And I'm just, in awe. Like I think, my mom was 44 when I was born. So, that's just like a lot greater chance of birth defect and things like that. And I'm just so grateful I was born, healthy. I mean, not saying, of course, I haven't had my share of health challenges and things, but I just think, wow, like for those of us who have children, our children being born healthy and things, because, there are so many of these developmental issues that can occur, and we're so blessed to be healthy, to have healthy children. And also, I mean, for those individuals affected, I think, now more than ever, there's so many services and supports for them. Um, so that's one thing I think about with regard to health. But just like what Brother Payam said, we don't appreciate it a lot of times until something goes wrong, because, I mean, I have a issue with vertigo, and it pops up, every couple of weeks or something. And, I'll just be fine and I'm very active. But on the day that I wake up with vertigo, I'll just be kind of laying down all day. And it's like, oh, wow, like I would just be so grateful to stand up and walk to the bathroom right now without help. And so it's so interesting how just one day of sickness can really make you appreciative of all the days where you feel good.
Would it be all right if I were to add something to this?
Yes, please do.
Thank you, brother. One thing I would say, excuse me, just about something that I reflect on with my own situation. I happen to be legally blind, and I've been this way my whole life. And to be honest with you, Allah doesn't test us with something that we can't handle, but also Allah blesses us with things that sometimes we don't understand how that blessing works. And for myself, just being somebody that is disabled, being legally blind, perhaps it's just my own perception, but it's humbling, to be honest with you. And Allah can use a disability in a way that could protect you in other ways. I mean, I don't know, for myself, I feel like with the way that the state of my heart, the way that I was able to open myself up and pray for Hidayah, and to be mindful that, I might be on the wrong path, outside of Islam, because I wanted guidance. But a part of me thinks that, what kind of person would I be if Allah didn't test me with a disability? Would I be the person that I am today? Would I be able to even think about Hidayah, guidance? So, for myself, I'm very content. I mean, it's difficult being visually impaired. It is, but you have to really find lining things. And that's just that's the only thing I wanted to add as far as that's concerned. It's just that you just never know how Allah can bless you, even in something that is very difficult.
And that's a really good point. And you made me think of I think it was a hadith where the Prophet ﷺ talks about if you have a problem with your eyesight and you're patient with it, that Allah will show you patience in the end. So that's just one of those things that we really, really, really do take for granted. It's the fact that we can see, and that we can differentiate colors, and that we can see, that we can, to the point where we can even drive, right? So, that's definitely something we should be thankful for. And yeah, you never know, brother. Like you said, had you been sighted your whole life, who knows where life would be, in that particular area. And inshallah ta'ala, there's other things that have been enhanced inside of a person of any disability that they have. Maybe there's some other thing that they have where they're actually enhanced, inshallah. So thank you for, I had no idea you're fully blind. I didn't even know.
Not fully blind, I'm legally blind. I've
got legally
blind,
okay.
Usable eyesight, but yeah, I can't drive, and I wouldn't try to drive.
Okay, alhamdulillah. Okay, so the next one that the Prophet ﷺ referred to was take advantage of your wealth before poverty. Take care of your wealth before poverty. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us in the Quran, "O you who believe, verily among your wives and your children, they are enemy." I shouldn't say wives, I should say spouse. "O you who believe, verily among your spouses and your children, there are enemies for you, i.e., may stop you from obedience of Allah. Therefore, beware of them. But if you pardon them and overlook and forgive their faults, then verily Allah is all forgiving, most merciful. Your wealth and your children are only a trial, whereas Allah with him is a great reward, paradise." So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us here that our wealth and some of the things around us in our life can actually be a challenge for us. And sometimes, if when we're doing well financially, we might not want to give because we're in fear of going poor, or if you don't have a lot of money, there may be a certain level of fear involved or apprehension involved because a person is concerned that their wealth is going to be even less than what that particular amount is. But we should always keep in mind that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us that in Surah Takabun that do we not want to give Allah a friendly loan or a loan, meaning that anytime we give in charity and anytime we give of our wealth, Allah is going to pay that back that many more times, if not financially in this particular world, then on the day of judgment. So we shouldn't necessarily be fearful about paying sadaqah or paying zakat or helping someone financially with whatever that they might be going through, and that we should never be in fear of that particular situation, because Allah is going to take care of us. And it reminds us that a lot about that in Surah Al-Baqarah as well. So one way, in terms of sacrifice is that if we have a family member or if we see someone in the masjid or out somewhere else and we see that we're in a position to financially help them, then we should. We should never really consider our wealth and hold that in terms of apprehension or that we're going to actually lose it, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala promises us that he is going to actually help us out in the end. And so our wealth can be an enemy to us, because if Allah blesses us with a lot and then we don't give out, that is going to speak against us on the day of judgment. So we have to be very, very careful about how we manage that side of our lives and be willing to sacrifice. I mean, of course, we have to pay our bills, we have to pay our rent and our mortgage and our car notes and take care of our bills and all of that. But at the same time, we should not hold any apprehensions towards helping out others, and especially with our wealth. So I'll pause it right there. So does anyone want to share without in using this as a level of encouragement and not to ruin our intentions or anything like that, but as a level of encouragement, is there anything that anyone's done recently to sacrifice the wealth that has helped someone else that we know, inshallah, is going to fare well for us on the day of judgment, inshallah? And don't make me pick on y'all. I see photos of people right here now. No, I'm just playing. So anything there?
Assalamu alaikum, this is Payam again. I just wanted to share something I heard at the masjid a long time ago that I think about all the time. The Imam was telling us, he said that it's amazing how small $100 looks when you're going shopping and how big it looks when you're giving it to the masjid or you're giving it in the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And I think about that a lot. During Ramadan and the other times, who, the vast majority of us, either for the masjid or for the Islamic centers or for the poor, the needy, we give a little bit and we think so mighty of ourselves, but then we drop a lot of money on Amazon or at the shopping mall or whatnot, and it's just seen as normal expense in our day-to-day life. And I think we have it backwards sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely right. And it sort of made me think of I think something that Sheikh Hamza had mentioned in a lecture where he had talked about where someone wanted to give away old computers, but what they did was they went into the garage and gave away the old computers that they didn't even want anymore. I think he used an example, and I'm dating myself, but he said a 286, if you guys remember that machine. So people were actually giving away their 286 computers, the ones that they really, really didn't even want anymore. Meanwhile, buying brand new machines and putting that in their home. And he was referencing Surah Al-Baqarah when he made that point, but that's actually really, really good point, that sometimes when we're buying for ourselves, things look so little. But yet when it's time to give in sadaqah, zakat, or to the masjid, that things look huge, they look humongous. And that's sort of the backwards way of looking at that, right? Because we should freely want to give and to share with other people, especially our friends and family and loved ones.
Well, I think there's a Christian saying, I absolutely love it. They say, "Give till it hurts," and I like the sentiment of that. It's got to cut deep a little bit for it to be genuine.
Right. That is yes.
I think too, like when we hear wealth, we think of material wealth. But I like to think like in terms of abundance. I owned a home for several years that had a lemon tree, and there was a lady down the street who also had a lemon tree, but she would sell her lemons. Like my whole philosophy was, if you can come in and pick them, they're yours. I mean, there's so many lemons. If anyone's ever had a fruit tree, they know how, at certain times of the year, they just give so much fruit. You can't even use it all if you tried. And I got to meet like so many interesting people because they would come over and pick lemons. And I look at people at the masjid too, like that have fruit trees and or any type of abundance, the people that go fishing and they bring in fish. It's like, whatever you have, instead of hoarding it for yourself, which we all saw like hoarding behaviors in the pandemic and stuff, but whatever type of abundance, I think is a type of wealth. And if you can share it with other people, I like about giving till it hurts, but also like, even when it doesn't hurt, like it's so great to share because you just, you get to put a smile on someone's face. And so, anytime we have an abundance of something as well, I think it's great to think about how we can use it to help others and not just like sit on that.
That's a good point, because it made me think about it, like even let's say a book, right? Let's say this is your favorite book. This is the book that you love. And when you became Muslim, you latched onto that book and you read it back and forth and you really, really enjoy it. But then you meet someone that you think could benefit from that book. If you give from that which you love, Allah's going to like that as well. And this person you gave it to may not even know that you care for that thing that much. But the simple fact that you gave it up, that's something Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, assuming our intentions are right, that is going to be smiled upon. Alhamdulillah. So that's just another way of giving sacrifice. And inshallah, we can start these habits up during the month of July if we haven't already during Ramadan or during this blessed time. But these are some things that we can really think about in terms of sacrifice that we can start now, inshallah ta'ala, and then it'll carry on through the rest of the year and the rest of our lives, because it's the little things that we do consistently that Allah truly, truly, truly loves. So yeah, thank you for sharing that, Sister Elizabeth. And also one thing I heard someone say before was like at a bridge, right? If they have a bridge toll, and let's say it's $5, you pay your bridge toll and pay bridge toll for the person behind you. That person they don't know who you are. You're never going to meet them, but it's the simple fact that you sacrificed and that you gave of your wealth, or that you gave of that which you love. It's going to carry a lot of weight, inshallah ta'ala. So is there anything else in the area of wealth or abundance?
Assalamu alaikum. I would like to add, related to Eid al-Adha, it's not very common here, but back in our countries, when you get a slaughter animal like sheep or goat or lamb or whatever, so tradition or is that you divide it into three part, and one part is for poor and one part for your friends and relative, and one part for yourself. So when the Eid Adha is not far from here, so when you slaughter animal, make sure you give the portion for the charity. It's kind of sunnah to distribute 1/3 of the meat.
Mhm. That's a good point. And there are some organizations that are one in Davis, I think two in Davis, and one out in Yolo County, where you can actually slaughter an animal. So if that's something you want to do, something you're into, or something you want to try, you can. Those resources definitely are here to do that. And I slaughtered an animal twice actually, and it's a whole different kind of experience. It's just to see how the animal will submit himself to you as a human being. You put the Bismillah on it, obviously, and say a prayer. But that's just a beautiful thing to watch that and to see that happen. And hopefully I don't offend any vegans that we may have in the house. I apologize. But the brother's right. But to slaughter an animal and to give that food out and to give that meat out, something is a very, very strong tradition in our faith, and for Eid al-Adha, inshallah. So number 4 is the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam reminded us that we should take care of our free time before we have another time, or before we become preoccupied. And this one, I think we sometimes need to be careful, right? Because there's things that we can actually do, things that we actually, parts of life that we enjoy and that are beautiful things, and there are halal things that we can actually do. But if we start to let those activities or those things start to get in the way of our ibadah, or get in the way of us doing or performing our salat, that's when we're falling down that slippery slope. So again, we can go and enjoy life, but just make sure that it's not getting in the way of us worshiping Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that's where we want to be very, very careful. And one of the things I think about is way back in the day, I used to be big into fantasy football, right? I was huge into fantasy football, and it wasn't gambling, but like on Monday through or Tuesday through Thursday, I'm watching injury reports, I'm reading injury reports and looking at all that. And then all day Saturday, I'm making decisions on who I want to play and who I don't want to play. Then on Sunday morning, watching football. Then Sunday afternoon, watch football. There may even be a night game on Sunday night. Then you got Monday night football, and then you start that process all over again. Well, it gets to a point where doing things like that can potentially get in the way of you worshiping Allah and your ibadah. And again, that's when you want to actually be very, very, very careful. And one thing we can do in terms of sacrifice is to give up some of the things we do that are occupying our time, that are the sort of dead time things, and to read and reflect and to pray and to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so that's just another way of sacrifices. We can sacrifice some of the things that aren't really fruitful in our lives, and start to replace that with some levels with some levels of ibadah. And Surah Asr, and we're going to talk about death next, but it gets into how time is here, but it's fleeting, it's going away, and we're getting closer and closer and closer to our death. So we need to manage our time and invoke time management in a healthy way, so that we never ever put those other things in front of our worship, and in front of spending time with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and getting closer and getting closer to Him. So to make interactive. Does anyone want to comment about time management and how this can get in our way in terms of ibadah and worship? Okay, yeah, I think that one might be um, somewhat self-explanatory. And I did get, and after I go through this next one, which is the last one, life about life and death. I have a short little video that I was going to play in the beginning, but now I got the computer working right, and I'll go ahead and show that to you, inshallah, before we end. But the last point was, and your take care of your life before your death. And again, in Surah Asr, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, by the time, verily, man is in loss, except those who believe and do righteous good deeds, and enjoin one another to the truth, and enjoin upon others patience. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is just reminding us that, again, time is fleeting. It's here today, and we're moving closer and closer to our death, and that we are to a certain extent, we are at a loss. And that is easier to do the bad things in life and more difficult to do the good things in life. So we want to encourage ourselves, encourage our family, encourage the people around us to be righteous and to have and to perform good deeds. And we also want to help them and ourselves, first and foremost, to invoke patience, because without patience, we're just going to show a lack of patience with everyone around us, and that certainly is not a state or place that we actually want to be in. So time is fleeting, and I remember reading once in a book, and it was talking about time and life. That life is sort of like this really dark field with a lot of potholes. And so we're just running through life. We're just running through that dark field, and we just don't know when we're going to fall in that pothole. We just don't know when life is going to be over. We can even look at the situation, and may Allah grant all these people patience, the situation in Florida right now. These folks were actually sitting in their homes, right? Some of them, I'm sure, were probably just sitting there watching TV, reading a book, cooking dinner, doing whatever that they do. And they had no idea that the building was just going to collapse and their lives are going to be over. And that's just how fast things can. We're here today, and then we're gone, and there's nothing we can do. Allah is not going to allow us to come back to do more good deeds and to be patient with other people and to spend more money on to help others. We're not going to be afforded that particular opportunity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about that in Surah Yasin. So we need to be very careful, and we need to recognize and think about death often. And to treat each prayer like it is absolutely our last prayer, and to treat individuals like this is potentially the last time we're going to actually see that individual. So we need to think about death, and we need to think about death often. And even with the COVID situation, right? There are certain people that may be a direct friend or a family member who we knew we were going to be seeing them again, but they're not here now. And so we need to make dua for them, but we just need to consider ourselves and the simple fact that we are not guaranteed tomorrow. We're not guaranteed the next hour. And on the last one, there was a sports figure who many years ago signed the highest contract in the NBA. He signed the highest contract. He was the highest player in the NBA. And someone said, and what next? And they were speaking of this individual, and they're like, what next? Well, that particular individual they were here one day and gone the next. And it was a very sad accident that turned the world upside down. But I'm sure that particular individual did not know that this is going to be the last day he was going to be here. And so we need to take that seriously and take death seriously, and look at that and look at those particular those particular situations, because nothing in life is promised. So, do anyone want to touch on that and Then I'll show the little short 2-minute video here. Did anyone want to touch on that, inshallah? Okay, all righty.
So I just,
Oh, yes.
sorry if I keep jumping in, but no one else speaks,
No.
so I like to talk. So one thing I think is fascinating, if you, throughout the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala always presents two groups. We have the group of Allah, and we have the group of Shaitan. So we have Adam and Iblis, we have Musa and Pharaoh, we have Ibrahim and Nimrud. I mean, over and over and over throughout the Quran, we're presented with these opposite sides to choose from. And I think of it as Hezbollah, the group of Allah, the group of God, and Hezbollah Shaitan, the group of Shaitan. And it's kind of up to us to choose which one we want. And if we pay attention to the story of Adam and Iblis, or Adam and the devil, both have a similar scenario when they either make a mistake or make a sin, depending on how you want to interpret it. And when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala interacts with Adam alayhi salam, what does he do? He immediately asks for tawbah. He takes immediate action and asks for forgiveness. But when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala approaches Iblis, what does Iblis ask for? What does the devil ask? He asks for time. He says, give me respite, or give me time. And then he goes on and says why he wants time. So I think to myself, when I'm asking for time, okay, I'll pray in an hour. I'll give zakat when I have money. I'll spend time with my kids when I'm not so busy with work. All of these bargainings with time, I'm being Hezbollah Shaitan. I'm being like the group of Shaitan. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm being sinful or evil, but I'm following the habits of those that are the enemy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But when I take immediate action, when I say, okay, I'm going to do my salat now, I'm going to give my zakat now, I'm going to spend time with my kids now, I'm going to call my friend now. When I take that immediate action, I'm being like Adam alayhi salam, I'm being like Hezbollah, the group of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so you brought up time. I constantly think time, or those that bargain with time, it's kind of illusion, and we're definitely in the group of those that are not necessarily on the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
SubhanAllah. Well, that's definitely beautiful. Beautiful reflection. With the prophets, alayhi salam, that are out there, and sort of some of the things that they had to deal with, and how many hundreds of years they were here, right? But then at the end of the day, some people picked up their message and some didn't. But inshallah, they'll have a wonderful abode, inshallah ta'ala. Is there anything else? We got like 4 minutes left. Anything else anybody wanted to add?
I was just going to say that, my dad he worked so much, and he used to always say, well, I'll take a vacation when I retire, or I'll do XYZ when I retire. And I'll do this. I'll go fishing more when I retire. And he got sick and got forced into retirement because he got sick and couldn't do all those things that he wanted to do because he was now ill. So I always think that, when we apply that to kind of like Islam, like how many of us say, I'll do more dawah when I retire, or I'll volunteer more when I retire. I mean, God forbid, Allah forbid, if we were to get sick, not just not being able to do the fun things we want to do, but what if our time to do good deeds and earn ajr was limited as well? I mean, all those people in the condo that you just mentioned, how many of them, really were counting on having time to kind of, earn good deeds and do more things for humanity, and then now they don't get a chance. And so that's the way I look at it. Like, oh my gosh, if something were to happen to me today or tomorrow, I've just missed out on a lot of time to try to, do good deeds, which, that's half of why we're here, right?
Yeah, so that's what it's the part of what it's all about is, right? Inshallah, the angels are writing things in our good book, writing very little in the bad side of our book, or our bad book. So on the day of judgment, inshallah, when we're presented with those, we'll easily go into paradise and cross the bridge, inshallah ta'ala. So that's what all of this is about. And that's why we're here tonight, inshallah. Just so for me, first and foremost, I'll speak for me. So inshallah, we can sort of pile up some of these good deeds, and these will carry on, will fare well for us on the day of judgment, inshallah. So I have this little video, and my intention was to show this at the beginning, and you guys will probably see why, but I think this drives the point home very well, inshallah. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Make this happen. Okay, do you guys see the PowerPoint?
Not quite yet.
Oh, no.
Yeah, nothing on my side. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
got it
starting.
now?
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
There we go.
Okay, all right. Are you guys getting audio?
I can't hear anything.
No audio.
Are you guys getting audio at all?
No.
No.
All righty. Yeah, and I do work tech support, believe it or not. Okay, let's do this again here.
I think in the sharing, you have to share the audio as well.
I'm sorry?
In the sharing, you have to share audio as well.
Okay, it looks like the audio is sharing. So,
Not-
okay.
You have to play.
Yeah, if this works, great. If not, then I'll let it go. Okay, all right. So I'm gonna let this one go, but we can kind of see what the young guy is talking about. Is he's actually reading through the hadiths, and what he is reminding us of is that we should treasure our health or value our health before we're sick. So we can see him in the back there that he's actually sick. Then he's saying here that we should actually value our wealth, and you'll see the pop-ups on what he's actually saying before our poverty. And I apologize for the audio. This worked real well right before class, and then I start class, and all of a sudden, there it goes. But here he's saying that we should value our free time before we actually have no time. And then here he's saying value your life before, and then he gets hit by a car before our death. So it's a little bit of a morbid ending. However, I think the point is driven home, inshallah ta'ala, that we need to just take care of all the little things in life, so that inshallah Allah will take care of us on the day of judgment, inshallah ta'ala. So that's it for tonight, and 7:32. So is there any more questions or comments? If not, then I'll have Brother Payam close with a dua, inshallah ta'ala.
And nothing from the chat room.
Okay. Okay, alhamdulillah. So Brother Payam, you want to close with a dua? If not, then
I'm not real good with du'as, but anyone else want to volunteer? I picked on Shane at the top, but
I'll
from the
go
silent
for it.
majority.
Yeah, I'll go for it. Bismillah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ya Allah, you're the only true God. You stand alone and you have absolutely no partners. Ya Allah, it is you and only you in whom we seek refuge from the evil within our hearts and the evil within our own souls. And Ya Allah, we ask that you please forgive us for any of the sins that we commit on a daily basis. Ya Rab, we ask that you please give salams and blessings on the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his wives, and all his righteous companions, and on all of the believers. Ya Allah, we ask that you please lift this pandemic from this world, and that you grant patience to all of those who lost family members and all those who may be sick. Ya Allah, we ask that you increase us in knowledge, grant us wisdom, and help us to take advantage of the 5 before 5 and to actually invoke those into our lives. Ya Allah, please help us to practice as much sacrifice as much as we possibly can, and please bless those people who are going to go on Hajj this year so that they are able to make it and that they have a safe return. Subhanaka wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik wa ala inna insana lafi khusr illa alladhina amanu wa amilu salihati wa tawassaw bil haqqi wa tawassaw bis sabr. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Jazakallah
Wa
khair.
alaikum
Wa alaikum
assalam.
salam.
Alaikum salam.